Hello and welcome back to the Good Talkers podcast. Woohoo! Hi everybody, my name is Tessa Livingston and as always I am joined by the incredible Ashton Haugen.
Oh, hello. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I always go to say fantabulous when I say your name and I'm going to stick with it.
I think it works.
I think it works. I think it totally does. The fantabulous Deanna Cooney.
Hey, hey.
And our extremely valued, our extremely excellent producer Jordan.
What's up, guys? I like the deep voice. I see what you did there. Just getting on my level before I spoke. Good stuff.
Just like priming the audience, like getting ready for you.
Don't get a fright when I start talking.
Oh, well, it is so good to have everybody back today here. I was going to say here in the studio. We're not in the studio. We're all in our own individual spaces across the globe. So great to have us all here today. And now, Ashton, you were going to tell us a story at the beginning before we started recording. And then you're like, no, wait, I shouldn't tell you. Let's wait for the beginning. So I'm just going to throw to you. What's your story?
Okay, so I'm glad that you talked about our how global we are in this podcast because I am in Los Angeles. You know, you and Jordan are in New Zealand and Deanna's in Australia. And so prior to starting this podcast, I had never heard of a little show that you guys like to reference a lot called Kath and Kim. I had never heard of this show beforehand. So, about a week ago, I saw that they had put Kath and Kim on My American Netflix. And I was like, oh, awesome. I can start watching it now. So I put it on to watch with my boyfriend. It's one of like the first episodes of the first season. And I'm like kind of laughing and it's pretty funny and it's cute. Actually, I'm going to keep watching it because it's actually really enjoyable. But he was like, hey, I can't understand a thing that they're saying. You're going to have to put on the subtitles.
You need subbies. Yeah, whack the subbies on, man.
Yeah, he's like, I don't get it. I can't understand anything that they're saying. And I'm like, well, how come I can? I think it's because of you lot. Like, you three have like primed my ears to like understand that kind of accent. And so I can watch Kath and Kim with no subtitles. Like, I am good to go. But we put on the subtitles so that he could watch it. And yeah, good. It's a good show. I'm glad that I have it on My American Netflix because before it hasn't been available. So now I can watch it. I'm excited.
That is so funny.
I love it.
I love that so much.
I love that, like that kind of cultural reference and that type of language and speech patterning and accent and stuff is like infiltrating the US. Yes. Get it in there. It's in your house now. You can't get rid of it.
I can't. And I don't want to. It's awesome. Like, it's a great show. It's super funny. So I was trying to explain to him like the whole baby Jesus, baby cheeses bit. And he was like, I don't get it. I was like, but that's hilarious. That is so funny. And like, he didn't get it. But I think it's hilarious.
Oh, I'm so excited for you to like watch bits and just like, even if you just come back and like say a phrase, because I don't know how many times you've seen it, Deanna or John. I've seen it
A lot.
quite a bit. And so like, I'm just excited. Is Cal on the show yet? Like, I'm just so excited for you to find out who Cal
I'm
is.
literally only like 3 episodes deep. Like, I am just barely starting.
You have so much fucking awesomeness to like dig through. It's so funny. A friend of mine and I, like, we communicate sometimes just in Kath and Kim memes.
I'll start sending them to my friends and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about.
They better have subtitles.
Yeah, better have, and I'll make sure that the subtitles are there for them. Yeah.
So good.
Because it is an intense Australian accent. It is the heavier of the Australian accents. So
it's barely even. Like it's like
Really?
it's a caricature.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's a better explanation.
Of
Yeah,
an
totally.
Australian accent, right?
Yeah.
And there are some people in Australia that speak that way, of course, right? Like there's people that speak all sorts of different ways everywhere in the world, right? But it definitely is caricature, right?
Yeah.
There's I think they appear on Kath and Kim, Prue and True. Have you seen those characters?
Prue?
So you won't have seen them yet, Ashton, but they have a very different accent. They're supposed they're a caricature of like posh Sydney kind of voices, and they're all like Prue and True. It's amazing. Oh my god,
They're hilarious.
the voice is so here.
It's
so
like
funny.
RP English mixed with Australian. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
weird.
With a
but
whole
it's-
bunch of wanker put in, right?
Oh, just wait. Everybody will have a glass of Chardonnay and everyone will be happy. So,
Look at me.
look at me, Kim, look at me. Oh, I could just do it all day. I could just do it. It just gives me so much life. You know what else gives me life? Segue, everybody. Ready for it?
Good.
Is that today we are talking about dubbing.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Really cool.
I know nothing about dubbing other
I
than
know a smidge.
it's hard.
Yeah. Good. Episode done.
Thanks for being here, everybody. And
Join us next week on...
Where we discuss Kath and Kim and then finish. So actually this episode wasn't generated from my brain, which is marvellous. It was generated from the brain of a fan, of somebody who follows and listens to us, which is really
Yay.
exciting.
So fun.
So fun. So Vic lives here in New Zealand. And he emailed us about doing a dubbing episode. He's also a voiceover artist, and he wrote a little bit about himself to share. So I thought I would share about Vic. So in his email, he said, I'll set the stage for the story. Now it's 2009 and I'm 7 years old watching cartoons on Cartoon Network at 9 a.m. in the morning. I watched the newest episode from my favourite cartoon show, Chowder. Do we all remember Chowder?
yes.
No. Well,
Yes, you're Ashton, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've no idea.
You have no idea.
No idea.
Maybe we can find a clip and we can chuck it on.
that'd be awesome.
And it revolves around the characters spending all of their money, and it gets to the point where they spend so much of their money that they lose the budget for the animation. So it cuts to the voice actors in the booth facing each other whilst reading the script, and they do a montage of washing cars till they get enough money to get the animation back. Quite honestly, the best fourth wall break in cartoon history, in my opinion. In that moment, I realised that actual people voice these characters, and I promised myself that one day I too would take up VO. When I'm older, and 13 years later, I've done VO for 6 years, 3 years professionally, and still going strong.
Wow.
So this is Vic's story. How cool is that?
That is
Awesome.
awesome.
Such an amazing bit of like inspiration. I wonder, does anybody else like really briefly have like a moment like that with voiceover, or was it like I think for all of us it was quite a gradual process? Hey.
I kind of did. When I was younger, probably watching clips on the Disney Channel of Robin Williams voicing the genie. And I just thought that was just the most brilliant thing I'd ever seen. And then when I got older, I watched a documentary called I Know That Voice. And it changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, it just changed my life. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to do this. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. It's gradual for you, hey Deanna.
Oh, it was an accident.
Yeah,
sort of.
accident.
You know, like I was doing something else. I was acting on camera, and but people kept telling me that there was a gap in the advertising space in Perth, in WA, in the local market. And so I just kind of like dove in, right? But it was definitely an extension of advertising work that I was already doing on camera. And it was very much in the commercial space, right? I never even considered myself as someone who would do character kind of voices and character work until very, very recently. You know, it's a really new thing for me. So dubbing is like so far outside my sphere of like what I've been exposed to, my experience, like even as a consideration. I'm fascinated by it. And I'm excited about this conversation. I'm going to sit back and learn a fuck ton and probably ask some questions. It's going to be great.
Oh, well, exciting.
Hopefully
Also-
we can answer because like I'm not that like, you know, I'm not that experienced. What about you, Tessa?
I've done it once, and it was quite a frightful experience, but it was fun.
great.
Jordan, have you worked with any dubbing before?
Actually, no.
Oh,
And
cool.
when you said dubbing, I thought, I wonder if I need to blow the horn and get that explained exactly what that means, particularly with VO. So maybe you want to do that.
Cool,
Someone
cool.
explain it, put it in layman's terms, and spell
Well, that
it.
is the first question on the list. So Vic's question was, what are your thoughts regarding dubbing, whether that be for anime, movies and shows, and what the skills involved are? So yeah, what's dubbing? Who wants to try and define dubbing?
Dubbing is basically just replacing a set of dialogue that has already been created for something with another set, usually in a different language.
or accent.
Or accent. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because often American content will get dubbed by an Australian voice.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah. Like it happens in advertising a bit, right?
Interesting.
And yeah, so it's not just about language, although I imagine the bulk of it is language, right? But sometimes it's just about making it more, and really what it comes down to is making it more appropriate for a new market.
Right.
So that a new audience can engage with the thing.
That makes sense. That makes heaps of sense. Because I've seen, I don't know if you've all seen, and this might be a question for you, Deanna, on television when you have ads, it's like a bank ad or whatever it is, and the lips are out of sync with the sound. Now, I forever and ever, even like, I don't know the answer to this, but I have always thought that they do that on purpose to make us mad about the ad so that we remember it. Because I'm like, why would you have an ad where the actor's lips are out of sync with the voice? Why the fuck are you doing that? Makes me so angry. Fuck, it makes me angry. Yeah, Jordan.
This is my cardinals. Like, this is biggest pet peeve ever. And the worst, like, if you're editing something and then you save it, can't, reopen it. I had this happen recently, and it's like, just fractionally out, and you're like, no, I did not save it like this. And then you've got to go ahead and reline up and perfect. Oh, man. If it's wrong, it's so obvious. Even if it's like a microsecond, it's so obvious and infuriating. In sports, that stuff drives me nuts. Like, oh man, don't get me started on that.
We like sometimes when you are watching a program, right, that like a show, the sound file will just not line up the right way with the visual file, right? And that's the worst. I can't watch it. It just, the dissonance that it creates in my brain, I can't overcome it, right? You're better off putting it on silent and putting the subtitles on for me, right? And then my brain just matches up the words with the mouth flaps, right? Yep. With the lip flapping, right? Which I think is a term in dubbing, isn't it? Like, aren't you supposed to match words to lip flaps?
What?
Yes.
That should not be a term. That sounds horrific.
It is. You never heard that before?
She's
really
thinking of the
upset by
wrong.
this
She's thinking of the
conversation.
wrong lips and flaps. I think.
Oh.
I think that's what's
What are we
going on.
talking about here again?
I don't know. I don't know.
Tessa's gone bright red.
I have. It's really hot in my booth today. I left my fluffy pants on and I'm
Sure.
struggling.
We
It's
believe
hot. Yes, believe it.
Something about that terminology that just like really, really like is just a little bit much for you, right?
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
That's what it's called. They're called lip flap. It's got like the way the mouth moves. That's right, isn't it, Ashton?
I was doing the lip flaps for your thing.
Oh, we heard. We got it.
I was
Awesome.
like, what the fuck is happening in my ears? And then I turned to it. I was like, oh, it's just Ashton.
Ashton like flapping her lips. Fascinating podcast material, folks. Awesome content.
So great, so great. Well, because I remember seeing one, and I keep banging things with my ring today. I saw, so if you can hear clinking sounds, which you probably couldn't hear because Jordan would have been really excellent in taking them out, but now I've talked about the clinking sounds, so Jordan, now you have to leave them in.
Cool, good.
Cool, good, fabulous.
Let's work for me, says Jordan.
I saw one in New Zealand just recently that I am 100% certain had been dubbed. Now, it was like a police ad or something like that. So they're trying to recruit younger people and particularly women into the police force. And it was a slight, like maybe like 40, 50-year-old woman who was speaking. And then this voice came in and it sounded like a 20-year-old girl. And I was like, what?
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I was listening. I should try and find it, but I was listening to it and I was like,
Oh, I'd love to see it.
I was like, why did they dub that? Because it took all of the the presence away from the woman who was like she had a really good screen presence. And then there was just like this voice that didn't match her. And I was like, what is going on? So I'm almost certain it was dubbing. Almost certain. I have to find it.
So this like whole dubbing in for advertisement is kind of like not a thing here in America that I've noticed. Just not a thing that I've noticed in advertising. But my
it's not a
question
big thing here, but I just have seen
I think
it
it's
before.
huge, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't, not in advertisements, but like when things. So do you guys watch things like entertainment things that have been dubbed into another language? Like, for example, I don't know if you guys watched Squid Game that was dubbed from Korean like into English. Does that type of dubbing bother you or not so much?
It's actually it's on my list of questions for today
Oh,
to
okay.
talk about Squid Game. So no, that's perfect because I'll just jump to it straight now and then I'll go to my other questions later. But so yes, so what you're talking about there is that it was dubbed from Korean to English. Now there are two versions of this. You can either watch a version of it that has English subtitles that has been translated from the script and it's just the subtitles. So people are still acting. You've got all of the Korean stuff going on, but the subtitles are there.
Sure.
But if you watched it with dubbing, they tried their best to match lip movement, and it took away large portions of the story because it didn't match up.
Oh,
I
because
know that.
English and Korean so different.
So the content was different. I remember reading something about it later on, being like, if you watched it with the New Zealand, or not New Zealand, with the English dubbing, you missed out because the story was not as good.
Really?
Which I thought was really interesting. So that was my question was, do we think dubbing should flap match or should we allow actors to keep the actual script and ignore the lips?
Wow.
To me, when I'm a consumer of entertainment that has been dubbed, I don't really care if the lip flaps match. That's not my thing. I would much rather have the truthful, real story than have the lip flaps match. Now, I think there's something to say with like the pacing needs to match. Like,
Oh, yeah.
if a character is done talking like that, then that needs to be the end of the sentence. But as far as the actual like lip flaps go, to me, that doesn't really. If it's going to change the language that you have to use to match those lip flaps, I would much rather have the real story.
I'm sorry, every time you say
I know.
flaps,
I'm
just
like,
wanna laugh.
I'm like, how can I say lip flaps one more time to make her just go nuts?
I'm really pink. I'm so sorry.
Not coping. Not coping.
No.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, to me, as a consumer of that type of story, something that is dubbed, I don't mind that at all, and I would rather the language not be changed. I didn't know that about Squid Games, and now I'm like, man, I kind of want to rewatch it with just the subtitles and see how different it is.
That sentence length thing is really interesting, right? Because what you see with different languages, obviously, is like sometimes a lot more words are used to say something that in English we might only use 5 words to explain. And so when you're dubbing a language that is more, I can't think of the right terminology for it. I don't even know if one exists, right? But
Syllabically dense.
yes, awesome.
I would say that could be a word for it. Yeah.
Yes, syllabically dense, right? I was thinking words, but you're right. It's not just words; it's also syllables, right? So if something is more syllabically dense, we've just created I think probably someone else has said that at some point.
Someone will see that. Right?
Whatever. We should claim it's ours. Okay,
Yeah.
It's a good talkers thing. So, if that translation, that dubbing, it's not going to match lengthwise. Then to make it match lengthwise, you'd have to actually put in extra words. And maybe that's useful, right? Like maybe actually the way we describe things in English is nowhere near as rich and beautiful and colourful and expressive and imagery based, right? Maybe there is something, maybe that's something that they do, right? If anyone out there is a dubbing artist, I'd be keen to know, do you take the direct translation and then if need be, make it wordier so that the sentence length is the same and the amount of time that the lip flaps are happening, there's also enough words to fill those lip flaps.
You're doing that on purpose. I know you're doing that on purpose.
So lip flaps, lip flaps, lip flaps, lip flaps. No, just kidding. That's not what I had to say. But what I really had to say was that is it so while that may be true about something being syllabically dense, which now I want on a t-shirt, that phrase. I wonder how much of a difference it is. So like when you localize something, a lot of cultural references will be not understood for the when you're localizing something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like a
Yes.
lot of the time that happens in like video games. You have like a lot of Japanese video games that Americans love to play, but some of like the cultural stuff gets lost because we as Americans don't understand it as Japanese people do. So I wonder if that also has something to do with it, which is kind of sad because I feel like that's not only like dumbing down the art, but like I don't think something should have to be culturally changed just because us dumb Americans don't get it. You know what I mean? Like maybe we could get it if we were given more opportunities to experience like beautiful cultures from other places.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Good.
That's
We've
all I
all
had to
had
say about that.
We've all had a great pause.
I'm thinking
think,
lots
yeah.
and lots and lots. Like, and I'm hesitant to like just kind of say things just for the sake of saying them, you know.
Yeah.
But it's. I would love to do some dubbing. I think just to feel that experience, you know, because there's a lot of structural stuff that you have to take in. Like there's a voiceover talent here in Australia. Her name's Amy Smith. She does, yeah.
Love
She's
Amy Smith.
she's
She's such a
amazing.
sweetheart and she's incrible. Yeah.
Super talented, adorable person, just
Yeah.
delightful and divine, right?
Yeah.
And she does lots and lots and lots of dubbing work, as far as I know. And one of the things she talks about is maintaining the performance inside of a very strict structure, right?
Yes.
And a very strict structure around how long you have to say things. And that reminds me of advertising, right? Because when we're working in advertising, we're really, really limited by the time frame that we have to fit words in. And if we just concentrate on getting the words into that time, then we lose performance. And so I imagine that same skill set is probably applicable in the dubbing space insofar as we need to get the words into a very specific time frame so that it matches the lip flaps or, you know, matches the length of time that the lips are flapping. Sorry, Tess. So
You're
funny.
not sorry.
Right?
Don't apologise to me. You
Sorry,
are not
not sorry.
sorry.
You have to do it in a really, really rigid structure, but you can't abandon the performance, right? And then when you add in that stuff that you were saying, Ashton, about cultural references and that kind of thing, I think, it'd be a really interesting thing to do, you know?
It's
I
complicated.
think it'd be fascinating. Personally, I really, really like watching things in their original language and then reading the subtitles. I really like that. And that's one of the ways that I got really familiar with the fact that like sometimes English takes like 7 words to say something that another language will take 25, right?
Yeah.
Because they're talking, and it's the same 5 words on the screen in the subtitles for like however long that phrase or sentence or bit of language goes for. It's really funny.
So, Deanna, you've not done dubbing.
No.
I've done one little bit. Ashton, you've done dubbing, yes?
I have. I've done dubbing that has been both in a session with a producer or a booth director that I've been shown the I've done 2 types of dubbing. So I've done a dubbing where it's in a directed session, and I've also done dubbing where I'm on my own and I just have to figure it out.
Wow.
Both are challenging in different ways. Now, most of the time, if I am doing a dubbing that is not in a session with a booth director with somebody helping me, I am not required to match lip flaps
Yeah, right.
because it's too hard. I can't do it on my own. The lips will be flapping and I can't match my
Your lips are not flapping in the same way.
The
My
ING
lips
on
aren't
that really
flapping in
got
the
me.
same way as I see the lips flapping on screen. So, but as long as I get the phrasing right, it's fine. That's what they're more concerned about. Now, in a
Yes.
directed session, is that what you've done, Tessa? Is a directed session or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're familiar, like in a directed session, it's usually, I've done them remotely. I haven't gone into studio. So we've done it over Source Connect. And so over Source Connect, there's a really cool little widget they have where I'm with the booth director or whatever, and they can put on screen, like, for example, I was doing dubbing for animation for a Chinese cartoon to be dubbed into English. And so it was for these little girls, and they are all like 4 or 5 years old. So they talk up here. And like what was interesting is I had to they wanted me to do a British accent for this character. So I had to dub using a British accent in English, dubbing a Chinese cartoon.
Oh, wow.
That
was
is
really fun,
amazing.
though. It actually was really fun. And it was only for one scene in this cartoon. It was only this one character in this one scene. And but it was so fun. I loved it. When I have someone to help me, it can be so much fun. When I'm on my own, it's a little bit more difficult, but truthfully, I charge a little bit more, if I'm being completely honest, to do that type of dubbing because it's more work for me to have to do it on my own. What was your
Totally.
experience, Tessa, with your dubbing?
Yeah, so mine was for an airline in New Zealand. New Zealand Airlines. What are they called? Air New Zealand. Oh my God, that was so hard. I couldn't find that inside my brain. I just got the words backwards. And it was awesome. I was really excited to book this job, and I got in there, and I didn't know there was going to be dubbing. I had no idea that was happening. Never done it before. And I didn't quite understand what they were asking of me. They're like, "Oh, Tessa, so this person's saying this thing." I thought that maybe the audio wasn't very good. Like when they recorded it on the day, that it just didn't pick up very well. And I also didn't understand that the air hostess in the advertisement was supposed to be I was the air hostess, and I didn't realize. I thought my part of the commercial was my own bit, and the air hostess was saying her own bit. Honestly, I just had no idea what was going on. I just missed the mark on so many things, on just understanding what the context was that they wanted me to do. And so they played it like, "Tessa, we need you to dub and to get this bit here." And my brain went, "Oh, they want me to sound like her. Okay." So I listened to it and I mimicked it to the point where the person on the other end of the thing was like, "I don't know which one's Tessa and which one's the..." So they're like, "Really clever mimicking skills, but Tessa, that's not what we're after." I was like, "What?" So I did that. And then once I figured out that they wanted it to still sound like me, I just had to lip match. But it was really tricky because for a New Zealander, I'm quite articulate. I move my lips a lot. I move my face quite a bit. But most Kiwis stay on this sort of plane here. So I had to be high and energetic and not move my lips to match what hers was doing. So I think the sentence was something like, "So, who's ready?" And so my mouth wants to go, "So, who's ready?" So I've got lots of lip rounding and this one was, "So, who's ready?" And the lips were just completely flat and wide. And it was crazy. It was crazy. But I had a really good time, and I did get it, and we got it. But and I can tell you how we did that soon. But yeah, Ashton, what are your thoughts?
So people might be confused because there's two different things. Dubbing is one thing, and then there's also ADR, which is automated dialogue replacement. So that's different.
Yes.
Really
from
different.
dubbing. Yes, that is really different from dubbing. And that sounds almost like kind of what you did. I could be wrong, but that kind of almost sounds like what you did, Tessa.
Yes,
which
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So dubbing is something almost entirely different than that. Although ADR is similar in a lot of ways. Dubbing,
You still have
I
to
guess,
match.
You
but
still have to match.
with ADR, often you're matching yourself.
Or
Yes.
or somebody who already has done the so in my experience, because I work with a lot of trailers and promo
Yeah,
and things
right.
like that. So sometimes I'll get auditions that they're looking for a sound-alike voice for a celebrity. Or like a trailer that they've already made that they just need to replace this tiny little piece of dialogue in. And so they need someone who's a sound-alike for that type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, right. The ADR I have done is as a screen actor. So,
Right.
Oh.
you know,
Yeah.
you
That's where I'm familiar with it too, is through screen acting.
So,
yeah.
you know, you do your acting, they film it, they do all the bits and pieces, and the sound didn't quite work right. So you've got to go back into a studio, or sometimes you do it on the spot, right? So I have on set had the soundy come to me and go, "Oh, we just need to re-record your audio from that bit," right? And so I'm re-recording, and then they put that sound in against the visuals. When I've done it, I haven't had the visuals in front of me, but because I just did the scene, I know how I did the scene, so I can redo the dialogue from the scene or my words from the scene. And I've also done ADR in a big group, in like a loop group kind of space. And actually,
I've
what
always
you're
wanted
doing
to
with
do that.
a loop group
too.
is awesome fun. It's so much fun, right? Because it's just a whole fuck ton of you in a studio and you're doing all the background sounds, right? And sometimes it'll be three of you will step up to a mic and have a conversation that's happening like at another table in a cafe scene or something like that, right? Or you've got to make the hubbub in the background of something and everyone's just sitting around going, oh, but you've got to use real words. You can't do the apple, banana, orange, pear thing, right? Like you can't just say
watermelon,
random
watermelon.
words to fill up space. You actually have to have real conversations and talk about real things so that if snippets of it show up in the background, it makes sense. You know, it's super fun. Not dubbing though, different.
No, it's different. I've always wanted to be a part of a loop group. Like, that's one of my like career goals. I think that would just be the funnest. But so you talked about how like you usually are doing ADR for yourself on screen. That's so interesting to me because, well, one, I'm not an on-screen actor, but I do get auditions to do ADR for specific things, usually for, like I said, trailers or commercials, things like that. And it's usually for to replace a piece of dialogue that a celebrity has done that they want to change or didn't work. So it's much easier and more cost effective to hire somebody like me who might be a voice sound alike for a certain celebrity than to try to rehire the celebrity to do this. So that's kind of the ADR that I have done. But it is much different than dubbing. In dubbing, I am still kind of almost creating my own character. I'm still, doing a voice for a character that I have created, and then given lines to do that voice for this character. So it's a lot different than ADR. It's a lot of fun though. If you do get in, I want to do more dubbing. I want to specifically do more dubbing for anime. I think that would just be so fun. I know that's like a lot of people like, yeah, we all want to do dubbing for anime, Ashton. But like that's something I think I would be really good at. Now I would like to get more into.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen bad lip reading?
Oh my God, I love
the bad lip reading YouTube
good.
stuff.
It's so fantastic.
So funny. I just sent a message to Jordan saying, can I share a clip of a bad lip reading thing? And it works really well in the visual medium, but it doesn't work from an audio medium, right?
No,
Because it just sounds like those are the words. Like,
But if you do get a chance, go look up bad lip reading.
oh my
is
God, it's fucking
hysterical.
hilarious. And it's
Yes.
a beautiful example of matching, here we go, Tessa, lip flaps.
Yes.
Right? Because that's the whole premise behind bad lip reading. It's like, look at the way the lips are moving and see what other words actually match those lip movements.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, it's so fun to watch. And the people that do it, like I started watching bad lip reading stuff a long time ago when it first showed up, right?
It's been around a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
And if you watch, the people that are doing the performances are getting better at performance as well. So like not only do the words match the shape, now we're getting emotional context that matches the facial expressions and that kind of stuff of the characters. It's so funny. I just did a quick little Google and I found one that's a bad lip reading of Dune, the movie Dune. Oh, it's hilarious. It's so good. It's so funny. You should just watch it. Everyone go watch it. It's hilarious. Go
My
watch
favorite bad lip reading is Star Wars.
it. Yes.
Oh my, it's a classic one. If you know bad lip reading, you've probably seen it.
Have you
but
seen the
it's-
songs?
Oh,
The Star
yes.
Wars songs?
Oh, they're so
best.
good. Yeah.
We went through a period of time in my house, probably like at the start of the pandemic, probably because we were doing a lot of YouTube because we couldn't get out of the house, right? And we found them, and literally we'd all get up in the morning, all four of us, and we'd walk around the house singing some of those, like the Seagulls song. Holy fucking shit!
They're so funny. It is so funny. Just you have to go watch bad lip reading. It'll make you a better voice actor. I don't know.
Just relate it back to the content somehow. It'll make you a better voice actor. Yeah, just go do it. Go do it.
Yeah,
Speaking of being a better voice actor, how do we? Does anyone have any tips and tricks on how they might be doing this stuff? Because this was part of Vic's question. Is like what sort of tips do we have? I can have a bit of a go with ADR because now that I understand that is what I was actually doing. I wasn't doing dubbing. I was doing ADR. Ashton, do you have any like tips on how you start with dubbing and what's a part of the process with that?
So, in my experience, staying in character and staying, especially if you're doing a character voice, staying on voice in that character is more important, especially is more important than getting it right the first time. Because if you can stay in that character and you can do a lot of different dialogues and emotions in that character, you're going to get it right, especially if you have a booth director or a sound engineer, somebody who's helping you, because they're going to help you get it longer or shorter. They'll be like, yeah, say this word a little bit longer, say this word a little bit shorter. They'll help you with that part, but they can't help you stay in character. So that's going to really be on you. So I would say focus more on the being able to create a character and a character voice that you can handle doing in all kinds of different situations, rather than worry too much about the lip flaps matching, because most of the time you will be aided on that part.
Yeah.
Be a good actor. That's my main thing, is know how to be a good actor. That's going to get you farther than knowing exactly how to match a lip flap right away on your first try.
Totally. I think that's so valuable because you're right. It's the whole voice acting thing. Primarily actors. That's what we're there for. So get that bit going in first. But because I like the vocal shit, because my piece of advice is at the other end of that, and finding ways to actually get that part. The way that I do it, the one time that I did it, but now that I've done it, I've kind of thought about it and been like, yeah, this makes sense, is to really, really watch their face and allow your face to mold with them while holding on to your stuff. So like, get your character in the right place, get your voice in the right place, but watch what their face is doing to help find that melody, help find the rhythm, help find your movement. And what I did is that I used my body heaps to help me find the rhythm of the sentences that I was doing. So as I was trying to match things, my hand would have a certain, so I would listen to the person do it and I'd go da-da, 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 and I would move my hands in a certain way. And then as I would go to do it, I would allow my hands to be the timing so that I could focus on the performance part of it. I was separating them into two different spaces.
Yeah, I think that conducting thing is really, really, really valuable. I conduct myself in advertising work all the time.
Yeah.
You'll see me waving my hands around. And part of that is about gesture that that informs your voice, and gesture and facial expression and body language, super fucking important. Do not make the mistake of thinking that because we can only hear your voice, you don't need to use the whole of your body, right? You absolutely do, right?
Correct. Yep.
Because the character that you're looking at is using their whole face and body to express. So you have to match that level. Otherwise, the intensity is not the same, and the stuff that comes from the inside is not the same. So it's really important, I think, to be doing that, but also conducting yourself. Like for me, what that does is that me moving my hands in a way reminds my brain that we go up here and we go down here and we go a little bit faster here and then we slow this bit down. And if you watch the video, you'll see me doing a bunch of different things with my hands that are visual representations of those vocal delivery decisions that I'm making, right? Yeah. And the second thing I think is really, really important here is warming up. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You want to
I
make
was literally
sure,
about to say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're very fucking warmed up. Warmed up mentally, warmed up physically, warmed up like emotionally. So make sure you're ready to be agile in your delivery, and make sure that your tongue, particularly your articulators, are going to be in a space where they're really agile and flexible and can move around and start to really sort of match those shapes. If you're very rigid in the way that you're moving your mouth, then, and that the character that you're dubbing has lots and lots of movement in their face, then you're going to sound wrong and different, and it's going to be less likely, I imagine, to match up. So warming up your articulators and getting them ready to be flexible and agile and responsive to the other stuff that you're doing as a performer, I think that's super important.
Yeah, because to me, this is kind of like This is the heightened technical skill, right? This
Yeah.
this to me feels like something that you couldn't just jump into. Like you'd need to have a bit of skill sitting behind you. It's kind of like, when you're an actor and you're when you're doing screen acting and you do your emotional performance and they go, cool, so we're going to do that shot again. Can you make sure you hit all your beats, please? And can you also make sure you hit all your marks? To me,
Yes.
this is like the technical part of hitting your marks.
Yes.
Your hand was on the glass at this point in this line. You took a sip at that moment in that line. You did blah, 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 blah. And that's totally what that feels like to me. And totally warm up your articulators, because also I had a speaker when I was doing mine who didn't move their mouth. So I had to have similar articulation but actually be more articulate. So I needed to keep my mouth still and get good sound so that it didn't have that over articulated sound for a mouth that wasn't moving. I had to do the opposite.
Yeah.
But I had to be warm in the back, I had to be warm in the back of my mouth. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I had to
No,
have
no,
lots
that makes
of space
sense,
in
right?
the
Like
back.
you had to create heaps of room. So your
Thank you
soft
for
palate has
validating
to
that.
be like, your soft palate has to be really active. Your tongue has to be really, really active.
Yeah.
Just because your lips aren't moving very much, you still have to have all of that
Totally.
stuff happening in the background so that you've got clarity in the sound that you're expressing. Because that's really, really important. That otherwise people can't understand you.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. We've had 2 moments like that today where we've all stopped, which is just so interesting. We never
Hardly
seem
ever
to
happens.
stop, and we've had 2. But like also, I do think we should get T-shirts made that say Salalic. Oh my god, I can't say
Can't
it.
even say it anymore.
Salalic.
No, I can't say syllable. Syllabically dense.
Syllabically dense,
Syllabically
because like
dense.
to me that just says we talk a lot, and I think that's really funny. So I think we should get T-shirts that say syllabically dense.
I agree, and like that concept is something that I had a conversation about with some clients that I was working with in an advertising voiceover session just the other day, like literally 2 days ago, right? Maybe even yesterday. I'm in this session, right, and they were like, the script was too long, and they're like, oh, but the word count matches. I'm like, yeah, but what about the syllable count, dudes? Right? Like, yeah, your word count matches, but half your words have got 4 or more fucking syllables in them, right? That is not the same as words that only have 2 syllables in them, right? It's twice as much speaking. And people don't think about the syllabically dense nature of some words, right? And they literally just count the words, but it takes much longer for me to say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious than it does to say dog.
Good example. Beautiful.
Both one word each, right?
Yeah.
Single words, not the same length, do not take up the same amount of time.
Right.
Just as a little sidebar. I think that's really, really funny.
I like your sidebar. I'm going to raise your
So-
sidebar and add another bit to it.
Do it.
Sounds I can't make. Jordan. I know. My segues are on point today.
On
Wow.
fire.
Golden. No, this is just my brain being like, shit, we need to get back on track. I'll just say a thing.
It worked.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So today is false chord screaming.
Oh, no.
I've just edited this so it's just a sound. Does somebody want to explain what false chord screaming is?
Tessa.
Yeah, I can do that, no problem. All right, so inside your delightful throat, you have your true vocal folds, which are the things that come together. So if you go like that, your vocal folds are coming together and they are vibrating to make sound. Now, next to your vocal folds, which are in a V shape, are 2 muscles that sit either side. And these are called your false vocal folds. And in your typical everyday speaker, they should sit and they should be nice and relaxed. If they are not relaxed, they sort of like puffy up and they try to get over the top of your little vocal folds. And if that happens, your voice might start sounding like this. They cause strain in your everyday speaker. But if you're a supra voice performer, so if you use your voice and
Do you say supra,
supra,
not
Supra.
super?
No.
Supra.
oh God, I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, I'm sure it's supra. Fuck.
Yeah, totally. Good call,
Supra.
Jordan.
Sounds
Supra.
like a car to me.
Yes, that's what it is. It's car. So supra just being not your everyday. So kind of like saying terminology as vocal athlete. Yeah, that I'm oh my God, I'm going to have to check that because I'm now having like a meltdown inside my brain that I'm saying a word that isn't a
I'm
word.
Googling it for you.
Thank
Just
you.
chill.
Thank you. I feel like I've seen it before because you can have supra oral headphones over the top
Hilariously, I've got nothing but Toyota Supra in my Google thing, so I'm going to have to put
told
voice.
you.
I'm going to have to
told
put
you.
voice after it. Hang on one sec.
Oh God,
Yes,
it's gonna
Jordan,
be wrong.
you got it.
It's gonna be wrong. Oh no. I've been
Spelling.
saying
Maybe it's a spelling. Maybe it's not
S-U-P-R-A.
Oh, it's a car. You're done for me.
Oh no. All my credibility is gone. Anyway, if you're a high level vocal user, it is a word? It is? Oh thank
Yes,
God.
supraglottal flow structures is
Thank
like
you.
the first
Yes.
result. So
Supra.
influence of supraglottal structures on the blah 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 blah.
Yeah, cool. So
Right, it's about acoustics.
yeah, so I can
Credibility
explain
restored.
Thank you
Like,
so
for
much.
sure.
Honestly, I was so nervous. Because I know
Google's for
I know I just say
vindication.
things. So supraglottal just means supra, above, glottal, the vocal folds. That's all that means. So structures that live above the vocal folds. And these structures, the false vocal folds, if you are a supra voice user, you are typically a metal singer or a screamer. So you know how to do these sounds professionally, where you can make your false vocal folds move and come together without straining your vocal cords. Now, it is really complex. It is a thing that people work for years to get really, really good at. There are some basic versions of it that you can do like little bits of, but it is something that you do have to train. But I just think it's absolutely fascinating. So that's what false vocal cord articulation is. So it's so screaming with your vocal folds. Cords,
Sweet.
fuck. Oh my God, false folds. Oh, guys, I want to go
Anyway,
home.
you've nailed it. Okay, you've nailed it. Let's go with you've nailed it. So I'm going to share the screen. If you can't see it, you can't see it, but you'll hear it. I'll play it twice, and then we'll all have a turn. Sound
Yep.
good?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
He
ready,
looks like a
spaghetti?
metal singer. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So if you can see the video, this is what I look like in the mornings if I've had a huge night, like a huge night. And the funny thing is, this guy's from New Zealand. You don't hear him talk, but
Is he?
yeah, I listened to the first part of it. He's definitely got a New Zealand accent.
His like,
Sorry, I
all
cut
that
that out.
hair is
Well,
everywhere, and he's
Are
all
we
like
able to listen to the
beady
first
and-
part as well at some point? Just to, because I think
I
he gives a
cut it
little
off.
explanation, does he? Oh, it's
There's
gone.
an explanation. That's why I gave you the credibility of giving the explanation. You nailed it. You
Oh,
absolutely nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here's the sound in 2 times, and then we'll do it. Okay, and one more time.
Fuck me, God.
And there he is.
He's even wearing his high vis fucking clothes. That's hilarious.
Such a New Zealander. Such a New Zealander. That's so cool.
So that was really interesting because he was doing a lot of that with his mouth closed. So, like, yeah, I don't know if I can do it yet, but there was like this finding of the sound, like, without being ah. It wasn't ah. He was doing like a
Yeah.
ooh, that feels.
Yeah.
I felt the vocal fold kind of like scratchy shit going on there.
Yeah. My guess is that why his mouth is closed to help find it is that it operates the same way an SOVT does, so a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise. If you've been listening to our show, you will have heard me talk about straw exercises
Yeah.
or like trills, that sort of thing. Those are SOVTs, and what I think will be happening there is that we're creating a back pressure inside the throat to lower the larynx, widen the vocal cord space, and allow activation of the false folds.
False folds, yeah.
False folds,
well,
yeah.
interestingly, when I Googled supra voice vocal folds, right, what I got was a bunch of results that talk about subglottal and supraglottal pressure, right? And
yes.
that is absolutely what we're fucking with when we do SOVT, right? We're playing with the back pressure from below and above, right? To get the vocal folds back into good alignment, right? And I think we're playing in the same space here.
Yes, because also SOVT work promotes glottic widening, which I learnt just recently, which is so cool. So it widens the space between your vocal folds so that when they move through their vibratory cycle, they don't hit with higher impact.
Great.
They're not hitting with as much force. That's what an SOVT is designed to do, for glottic widening, not to pull them apart, to create more space. So I can imagine that that's what we're doing there. So I think I'm going to try and use the pufferfish exercise because I don't think my lips are going to be helped. Do you have a straw there? Is that what you're doing? Oh my God, I know. Where am I? Oh wait, I've got one. Never mind.
I don't have any in here. They're being washed.
I never not have straws.
They're in the
I
wash.
found a straw. Here's mine.
Jordan's got a straw. Yes. All right, look, I've even got I think my big water bottle might be more beneficial at this point. That doesn't feel like my vocal folds. Oh, they keep trying to engage now. Wankers, get out of there. I don't think I've ever called my vocal cords wankers before. It's a
Careful
new
what you
day.
wish for.
They're not going to work for you anymore. They're going to be like, oh, really? Well, fuck you, Tessa.
Fuck you then, mate. I'm out. Ugh, they will. They'll do it. Nah.
Well,
That sounds all right.
did that feel like it was vocal? Because I think this is more about a feeling than a sound. Like, obviously, the sound has a particular quality to it, right? But we can probably replicate that sound using our vocal folds, but
Yes,
it's damaging
you can.
and dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So really what we're doing here is exploring sensation.
Yes.
So, Tess, what did that feel like?
It feels like, at the moment, it feels kind of strange, like I can't quite identify it. But what I can feel is that there is a lot more vibratory sensation at the back of my throat.
Cool.
So I think because, and my reasoning for that is that your vocal folds are little, your false vocal folds are much bigger. So their vibratory cycle is going to cause more vibration around your other laryngeal structures, right? So that would be my guess, but oh, you have to be so relaxed. So what I did just then, so I'm just like playing and figuring shit out.
Yeah.
I use the pufferfish exercise. So if you place your fingers over the fronts of your lips and then blow and hum, you feel a lot of diaphragmatic pressure and you kind of like you spread and you get quite wide inside your throat. What I did is that I started in that position and then slowly softened my body, so allowed my larynx to just kind of like and not be so engaged, and allowed my shoulders to drop to kind of not be so active, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Can I have a try?
Of course you can. Of course you
Okay,
can.
so I'm going to start with the pufferfish thing, right?
Yeah.
Just to see what that does for me. That went onto my vocal folds then. Did you hear that?
I did. Do you know what I found really helpful? Get your vocal folds
Oh, I
to
got head spinny
engage.
then. Fuck, Jesus.
Too many pufferfish.
Too many pufferfish. Do you reckon you could do another one? You're not too lightheaded?
Yeah, I got my breath back now.
Do another one. Let your vocal folds engage, and then go to breath, because we're not.
Yeah.
So let them retract.
It's not quite right.
Maybe don't start with your vocal folds at all, actually. Why should they be involved? They shouldn't. It should just be ear.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
yes.
vocal folds need to get out of there.
Yeah.
Ashton, you want to give it a whirl?
I have absolutely zero confidence that I will be able to do this. I have like zero confidence that I'll be able to do this.
Next
Because
minute it's
I
perfect.
practice so much. I practice and work so much in a vocal space that is so opposite of
Yes,
this. Like
totally.
high-pitched, cartoony, childlike.
Clean, right?
Clean,
really
feminine.
clean.
Like all of those things. So this is like completely outside of my wheelhouse. But
Yeah.
instead of doing the puffer fish, I think what I'm going to do is just kind of the same thing, but I'm just going to close my lips and like have them buzz until I
Yeah.
get the right sensation, and then
Totally.
I'll open my mouth. That's just kind of what I my plan is.
That is
I don't know
also
if
an
this'll work,
SOVT.
but let's try.
A totally valid SOVT is lip buzzing. Yeah.
Okay, let me relax. Nope, because I can feel my vocal folds want to engage so
I can hear them.
bad.
Can hear them. They're like,
They can't be relaxed. They're like, no, it's our turn. This is what we do. They don't want to listen. Okay, hold on. One more time.
they're trying.
I mean,
aren't they?
it is barely there. I don't
Yeah,
feel like I'm
yeah.
engaging my
No.
vocal folds, but I can't get it to be stronger than that.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Yeah,
That's all I
but that
got.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because this is muscular activation, and no one can just do a highly muscular action without building the brain muscle connection. And you don't have that, either do I, right? Like right now, what we have is a very, very strong neuromuscular connection between our brain and our vocal folds to create sound, because that's what we do, right?
Yeah.
And there's lots and lots and lots of little tiny granular, like minute shit that we're doing to create the sounds that we want to create, right? But we have zero connection between our brain and our false folds,
Yeah.
conscious anyway, right? So
Yeah.
it takes time to build that. It really takes time to build that brain muscle connection. And I think what would be really interesting here is, like, firstly, we've got to work out how to even make that connection. What does it even feel like when you've never felt something before? How do you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't.
No.
Can we listen to that again, Jordan?
Well, he's got
Yes, in a moment. I've got a question. So when you guys are listening to each other doing this, how can you tell when someone's using their vocal folds and when they're using their false folds?
Ooh, good
Oh,
question.
that's a fucking good question.
It's a really good question. To me, it is a it's because I just do this. This is what I do all the time. So I have and my ear just knows what it is. But to me, it's there's a vibratory difference. So when I've got the vocal folds going, like that, it's like my brain can visualize what's happening because of the audio sound, and I can hear those chords bubbling away. So to me, it's a sound thing. I'm not really a resonant thing. Sorry, that's the word that
Yeah.
I'm after. It has a different resonant quality than to what the other sound has. So if I go, that's on my chords.
Yeah.
You can hear it really quick. Whereas when we did this one before, no, I still can't find it, so it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. But yeah, to me, it's a resonant quality that I can just hear.
There's a clarity to the vibratory kind of sound. So our vocal folds are fine, right? They're not these big things that are bumping into each other and doing the vibrations and creating. Well, they're not even bumping into each other really. They're just kind of like closing and opening the space, right? And affecting
in a
the way
wave.
that they're in a wave, right? And they're bigger, so their wave is different. So the sound wave that comes from them is different. Our vocal folds are little and fine, right? And so the sound quality that comes from them is finer. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
That's what I was trying to say. Yes. The false folds are a thicker, deeper vibration, and they don't have strain. I feel like when you hear it drop onto the vocal cords, you can hear strain.
You can hear
when
effort.
you can hear the effort, whereas when you hear it on the false folds, you lose that component of strain and the resonant quality changes to something deeper and heavier.
It's almost you can hear them like, well, not click on, but like when they're like, you can, if you just know what to listen for, you kind of can hear the deactivation happen. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
totally.
You can
makes
feel it, definitely, right? Like
Yeah.
from a, it's the difference between going, and, You hear the
Yes.
difference there, right? Like when I just put air over my vocal folds, like when I'm sighing, right? There's barely any connection between my vocal folds there, right? But when I go, Hear the clarity of the sound shift.
And also versus, a really good one to add into there, Deanna, is breathy, connected, versus strained.
Yeah.
So that's the extra sound that we're hearing when we were doing it before, because we can hear that strained tone. And that's when we go, oh no, your chords are engaged because I can hear a sound I shouldn't be hearing. That was such a fucking excellent question, Jordan.
Good answer. I'm
Such a
impressed.
good
I was
question.
hoping for an example, and then I was like, I can't ask for an example because we can't. In that case, with that guy making that sound, that scream, we can't clearly do
Can't
both.
clearly delineate between the two because we can't do them both. Yeah,
but
exactly.
the
Do
breathing
it.
one was a perfect example. That
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
hear the difference. So
Because really what we're listening for is vocal fold activation as opposed to listening for false fold activation, right? Because what we're trying to avoid is the vocal fold activation.
I'll share it again. You guys want to have another look?
please.
Yeah, one more go.
The start is,
His tongue is so flat.
No, that is definitely vocal fold.
And even if we could get that the false folds to do it, I mean, the way that my head is shaped, I don't think I would be able to get the deep resonance, the fullness that he has in that sound. You know what I'm saying? From the space. I don't know if I could do it.
Well, I think that speaks to resonance and probably like position of larynx.
Yeah.
Head
right?
shape.
But also, like you said, head shape.
Yeah.
But, there are girls who are metal singers, of course, right?
Yeah.
There's a fuck ton of them, and so they're probably still they're doing the same thing, but at a different pitch,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
right? But
Totally,
the
totally.
pitch doesn't come from the vocal folds. The pitch comes from the resonance and the placement of
Fun
the sound.
fact, you can have both your vocal folds and your false folds articulating at the same time.
Ooh.
You can get pitched, you can sing with both of them going at the same time. I did a webinar just recently that just blew my mind to the point where I was like, I had to lie down for like an hour afterwards. I was like, what the fuck? It was amazing. And her name has escaped me. I'll go and have a look for it in a moment and I'll let you know who she is, because she's an Italian singing and screaming coach. She's she's amazing.
Wow.
But yeah, you can do both, and a lot of it is about letting the vocal cords be soft, the false vocal folds articulating and raising and creating space between the two. So allowing them to lift, because there is naturally space between your vocal folds and your false vocal folds. Yeah.
I wonder how much of, how you hear about those people, those like operatic style singers, like, in The Fifth Element, there is the movie The Fifth Element, there is that character that does the operatic singing.
The
right?
alien character, right?
Yeah, the alien character. That's a real person singing, by the way. That's not a computer generated voice or anything like that. That's a real person doing that singing. I wonder if they're to be able to generate that kind of like range and diversity and ability to move between sounds and resonance and all that different stuff. I wonder if there's false fold activation going on there to help generate that kind of thing. And in that whole like the monks that do like the
Tibetan throat
chanting
singing?
and stuff and the throat singing,
Yeah.
is that false fold stuff?
From memory. You see me like staring up into my brain,
Yes,
being like,
yes.
where is that information?
Dig through the Rolodex. Where the fuck is it?
They are playing with, there might be some false fold activation. I'm not 100% on that, but I do know that they're playing really heavily with formant and harmonic balances. So formant and harmonics is just, so you've got, I think it's 3 different formant spots inside your mouth. So you have your throat, your oral cavity, and your nasal cavity. And the way that you allow those 2 resonant chambers to interact with each other will create different harmonics that give you different, like, you know how they do those interesting sounds, and they allow the sounds to bounce off of each other to create those additional
Oh,
tones.
sick. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's I think that's what that is. Ugh.
So I just did a quick Google, right? And what I did was put in throat singing false vocal folds because I just wanted to see what came up.
Yeah.
And here's what I just discovered, right? So Have I got all of the information there? Yeah, cool. The false vocal folds are situated just above the true vocal folds, which we already know. And this might help, they're used for swallowing, coughing, and pushing.
Oh,
Oh,
oh.
that would help you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone can see me right now, but I'm freaking the fuck out. Oh my God.
You're doing it.
That's my false vocal folds.
You're doing it, Peter. You're doing it. Ah!
You're doing it. Oh my God, I love Hook. That was such a beautiful movie.
Deanna to the party.
Deanna to the party.
mate.
Oh, that just unlocked so much inside my anatomical, physiological knowledge brain.
Yes.
So if anyone wants to try, Jordan, how much time have we got? We got like
Oh, like about negative 10 minutes.
cool. Got you.
But that's standard. It's all good. It's all good.
So this
It's
relates to
entertaining.
a topic that we were talking about ages ago when I got in trouble on TikTok with the one video that we did.
The coughing,
that we,
that gets
the coughing thing. The coughing thing. Mate, people got mad. Anyway,
17 bazillion views, though. Fucking
it's
awesome.
like, I think it's like close to 1 million views. And I was
Yeah.
like, and people just got mad at me. I was like, my information is correct. Leave me the fuck alone. Anyway, someone asked to see my medical, what's her medical knowledge? And I put in my degree and like all the shit that I know. And I was like, do you want to ask me again? Do you want to ask me again? They never came back to me. What are her medical credentials? Fucking everything, mate. Back off. Anyway. Honestly, that video made me so mad. That just came out of me. I was angry. That was great. We probably shouldn't post this as an individual clip.
Yeah, you have to dig through the whole podcast to find this stuff.
Oh, TikTok will hate me again. Anyway, because what I was talking about in that was not engaging your vocal cords so heavily to cough to protect them. So, and Deanna, you and I talked about it using like a bit of a huff, so like a
Yeah. Whoa.
yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's not my vocal folds at
Yeah.
all.
Can you do it without the face?
Without the face. I don't know.
Absolutely not. You have to have the face or you won't make the sound. We just went through this. This is dubbing. We talked about all of this. You got to do the face.
And
I'm trying to put words on it now.
Yeah. What's a phrase? What is dubbing? Because that's the first phrase that I saw on my thing. Oh no, where's it gone?
Cough.
What is dubbing? No, it went onto my throat.
Yeah. Okay, let me
But
try.
it had moments. It had moments.
What is dubbing? What is dubbing?
Oh, let's say that dubbing
That-
went onto my vocal
Dubbing
folds.
dropped down. I
But
heard that.
What?
it's really interesting, right? Because I'm not using my vocal folds to shape the sound at all. It's
Yeah.
all about my lip and tongue
Oral posture,
position.
right?
But tongue movement engages my vocal folds.
I'm kind of thinking maybe you and I, we're being a little bit too like about
Yes.
it. Like, I've lost the plot today. I just can't do this. We talked about flaps too much, and now my laugh response is just like too. It's too on the surface. It's about as much as I can get.
You're doing the same thing that the guy on the video does at the start.
Yeah.
Like that lifting it up into kind of the top of your cheeks and into your, he's pushing the air up, which is
Yeah.
really interesting.
And probably what's a really good test for us to do just now is to grab your straw or put yourself in an NG.
What
And
about that?
I'll tell you why we did this. So if you've done damage to your vocal cords, the first thing that you lose is your high range, your high register.
Yes.
And my high register is still there. So I obviously haven't pushed anywhere too intensely.
Ah.
This is if you are a professional voiceover artist or any kind of voicing specialty of anything and you're doing a big day, start your day, find a piano, find your low note and your high note on a gentle NG or a gentle through a straw. It has to be gentle. Find where you can go to, and at the end of the day, see if you can find the same space. Because if you can't and you've dropped significantly, it's likely we've put some pressure or we've got some strain going on somewhere. So these are your hot
I've got
tip for the
breaks
day.
in mine. And I mean, I often do through my higher range anyway.
Yeah.
But I've had a very, very, very heavy week for speaking.
Yeah.
I started my 8-week voiceover bootcamp program this week. It's my first week of it. And it's a lot of talking, lots more really, but also not just talking, like teaching. So really like kind of intentional and energized and really engaging. And I can feel at the end of this week the strain in my voice, definitely.
Yeah, the fatigue sets in and you're just like, "Ugh, no more.
Hopefully you get a restful weekend, I hope, for you.
Yeah, and look, I'll just do lots and lots and lots of like vocal reset, vocal health kind of stuff. You know, I'm going to drink lots of water, obviously, but I'm also going to play with my straw lots and lots. I'm going to hum lots and lots. I'm going to do lots of that gentle,
Yeah.
hear that break in the middle?
Yeah.
That's that. It's not the highest bit. It's kind of like just as I move into head voice,
Yeah.
I think.
And you just massage massage that
it.
out with a straw.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and make it nice and light.
Yeah.
Team.
Right, come on, guys. Come on.
Wrapping it up.
Come
wrapping it up.
on.
Jordan beat me to it. This has been so cool. To me, this has been such a fun episode. So I will say thank you to Vic for suggesting it.
Yes.
I hope we've been helpful. I thought we'd have enough knowledge to talk about dubbing, so we've done okay. I think. I think we spent more time on the false fold stuff.
Yeah. It's a little bit more in our wheelhouse, though, right? Like, that makes sense.
That makes sense. But thank you so much, Vic, for writing in and asking us to do an episode. If anybody listening has an episode they want to hear, has a cool sound that they've got that they want us to try and do or break down, please share it with us. We love talking about your stories and your episodes on our episodes. So, great sentence, Tessa. Well done. So, that is it today from the Good Talkers podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. You can find us on all of our socials at The Good Talkers Podcast, or you can email us at thegoodtalkerspodcast@gmail.com. So, we look forward to hearing from you. And that is a wrap. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.